Welcome to another edition of Rivals. Scott Mitchell, Jason Buck here. Rivals has arrived. Now it's time to go. I want to bring your attention to a couple of coaches, Jason. Then I want to ask you a question, all right? So Nick Saban might arguably be the best college football coach ever. He has created this juggernaut dynasty at Alabama. Yeah. They are far superior, the best team in all of college football. Yeah. But he stunk as an NFL coach.
Yeah.
Now I want to give you another coach.
Totally different world, man.
Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll was, he was a good assistant, but he wasn't a great NFL coach. Then he goes to USC, and he becomes this great coach.
Yeah, wins the national championship.
And wins a national championship. And then he goes to Seattle, and he becomes a great NFL coach.
Yeah.
Now let me give you one more. Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly does an amazing job at Oregon, right? Yeah. Just they're in the college playoffs. He's got the Heisman Trophy winner. Oregon is just hot, hot, hot. Then he goes to the NFL, and he's not. I mean, he's bombed it. Now he's come back to college football, trying to create a resurgence at UCLA. So I ask you this question, Jason. Which one of these coaches would you want to be? Would you rather coach in college football, or would you rather coach in the NFL?
You know, that was some great analogy, or great input on those, because I look at that whole story, and obviously Saban grew, and Pete Carroll grew through their coaching experience, and can men adjust to the NFL level and the college level, because they are totally different worlds. You're dealing with a totally different type of athlete and the psyche.
Right. It's a complete, and
it's totally
don't
different.
You think that the biggest challenge in either one, so if you're going to coach in college or the pros, the biggest challenge is the players, right?
Yes.
And so it's how to manage the players in those situations. So which one of these,
most out of them.
Right? Which one of these would you rather be in?
You know what? I love both. I do, but I love the NFL more, and I would personally rather.
So what is it that you love more? What is it?
You know what? I love it being the ultimate highest level of competition. It's the best of the best. I like the fact that the players. I know how to relate to the players in the NFL from the sense of, you're a professional and you're coming to work and you got to give me your best, or there's the door, right? There's no babying, there's no coddling, and you got to be a true pro.
No one's on scholarship.
Nobody's on scholarship, man, and you're not answering to mom and dad's phone calls. Right?
And they don't have to go to class.
You're right. They don't have to go to class. You're not recruiting. You're not, going to their houses and begging them to come to your school and hope they don't transfer to another school.
But a lot of them make a whole lot more money than you.
Oh yeah.
And have a lot of influence with the owner and with the fans.
There's some entitlement and there's some.
Right. But you like the pure competition, the greatest players, see the door if you're not living up to it mindset.
I like the pureness of the competition of it, and just
part of what intrigues me about the NFL is you're not limited either, as far as, because I love strategy. Right, I love to look at a defense and go, okay, how am I going to beat you?
Yeah,
and figuring out what kind of schemes, what kind of plays, what kind of strategy am I going to employ? And it's a little bit challenging in college because you only have so much time.
Right.
And it's hard to really develop players and really get people that are like masters of their craft, that are just exceptional at what they do.
So it limits your game planning a little bit more.
And that's hard for me.
Yeah.
But the other side of it, from the college perspective, to me, is you kind of can set the tone. You have control over everyone. And there is a sense of, if you're not getting it done, you're not going to be here kind of mindset. I mean, you look at Nick Saban, and his quarterback in the national championship was not getting it done. And he said, I'm going to put in the guy who's never played, which is crazy. So there's an appealing side to, I think you can have more control over the players and the culture. In college football. Maybe, and I think a coach in college actually has a greater impact and is maybe more important than having the greatest players. Yeah. You look at a team like Arizona State in the Pac-12, and Herm Edwards, who he's not an alumni of Arizona State. He's been out of coaching for a long time, but he understands that chemistry. He understands those concepts of winning and culture, and they buy into.
Buy in.
And because they're not the greatest team in the Pac-12, but they're they win their last two games, are going to win the Pac-12 South. In his first year, with there's talent there. There's some good players. There's not a lot of depth,
but it's still huge.
But so much of it is the culture of Herm Edwards.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. There's absolutely the positives of college football. You have what I do love about the college football part of it is they are younger men, and you have a bigger impact on the growth of their lives as men. Right, you're really impacting them, and there's more impact there. There's a little more naivete, if you will, and a little more pureness of that, And I really respect and love the fact, if I'm looking at the positives, that the college boys and the college coaches don't allow them to get involved in politics like the NFL did.
Did you ever have a coach?
Type of thing.
Did you ever have a maybe Joe Gibbs, I guess, had an influence. I think about it.
Joe had a huge influence.
I think about
all of
Don Shula had an impact on but. Yeah. A lot of my coaches, maybe in the pros, I don't know, they had this massive impact.
There's a guy here and there, right? Yeah. Like at the Bengals, for me, on the defensive side, Dick LeBeau had an impact.
Yeah.
Love Dick LeBeau, and he's a Hall of Famer, legendary. I mean, still coaching at 80-something. He's an amazing guy. He had a real impact. Sam Weiss, no. Or my D-line coach, no. But there's a guy here and there, Joe Gibbs. Absolutely.
What's hard about some of the coaches I experienced was a lot of them were there for this is a career, this is a paycheck.
Yeah.
And you're an athlete and you're here, it's like I want to win championships, I want to create a legacy, I want to do all these, and those things don't necessarily merge and mix with one another.
Right.
Not every coach wants to go in the NFL wants to go and win the Super Bowl. No. What they want to have is 15 years
they want their 15
of service
years,
and they want a pension.
And screw you, you're a piece of meat.
Yeah.
And tell me you don't know can't feel the difference.
Oh, 100%.
And a coach that really loves you and cares about you and is busting his butt for you, and a coach that's like the one we just talked about.
Yeah.
You can, like that, you walk in the room and you can just feel it, right? And the players respond to those coaches that, they hold you accountable, they hold your feet to the fire, they bust your, butt and they get after you, but yet you still know there's a loyalty and a love there between each other, and I think Joe just mastered that. He really, the majority of his staff I believe was felt like that. Jim Hannafin and Torgy Torgensen and Pettibone, and you go down his staff, all that's back there, and you're like, all these guys were loved by their players.
Right, really good staff.
Yeah, and that made the difference, right? That's that college.
See, I have to admit, I'm kind of torn. I really am, because I'm kind of torn. I can see the benefit of both. And the thing is head football coaches in college and professional football make a lot of money today.
Yeah.
So the money isn't, I don't know that it's necessarily better.
A lot different. A little bit more in the NFL.
I think wherever I would be, I would want to be in a situation long term. Yeah. I'd want to have I wouldn't want to be jumping around to all these different teams and circumstances, situations. I would really look for that long-term stability, and I'm not sure, very few guys in the NFL have that long-term stability. Things fluctuate and change so dramatically, and they do in college to a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for any coach to have that longevity, but wherever it is.
It's hard to have we got to know it's not for long. NFL stands for not for long, right? And you got to know as a coach that you're rolling from city to city. That's just part of the career. But one thing, if I got to coach, if I was going to be able to coach college, NFL, either one, I would want to be, the biggest desire of my heart would be to be that Dick LeBeau, Joe Gibbs coach that really, impacted guys' lives. I mean, man, I would hold them accountable, but I would want them to know I loved them, even though I was, getting after them and making them work as hard as they could to be champions and be the best. But I'd want to impact their lives as fathers and leaders and, on and beyond football, and help them in their life, right?
Well,
I'd want to be that coach that really changed their lives, even in the NFL.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Well said. Look, people have often asked me, what's it like to play football and play in the NFL? And it's hard to describe. Yeah. It's hard to replace that. Like you go, man, there's nothing like playing football.
Like it.
But I will tell you, coaching is a close second. It really is.
It is a close second.
Close second.
It is.
There's a lot of satisfaction. And like you said, Jason, some of those reasons are definitely the impact.
Yeah.
It's teaching other people to do something and then they go out and do it and succeed. There's a lot of satisfaction. All right, this round of rivals is over.
And we're off to our corners.
I'm not Jason Buck,
And I'm not Big Scott,
but we are related.
even though we're looking more alike now.
Text Rivals to 65537. Go to those social sites, like us. Dial us in on that smartphone. We'll catch you soon.